Welcome to this episode of The Self-Led Leader. If you're someone who struggles with speaking confidently, if you are tired of blaming yourself and feeling like you're just not enough, whether that's in meetings, whether that's on Zoom calls, whether that's in person, if you are tired of feeling like you just don't have what it takes to speak confidently and successfully, today I'm going to be talking about why the problem might actually not be you, but your environment and the people around you. Let's get right into it. Welcome to The Self-Led Leader, a podcast for high performers who want to lead from alignment, not expectation. I'm Dr. Christina Ady, a social psychologist, and I'm here to help you lead with clarity, not chaos. This show is about what happens before the strategy, your mindset, your nervous system, the inner leadership that shapes everything you say and do. Because presence isn't about being loud, it's about being aligned. Let's get right into it. As I coach leaders, as I work with founders and business owners, there's one topic that keeps coming up consistently. And that is the disconnect between the thoughts that they're having and the way that they're actually expressing them, especially in front of other people, in meetings, on calls with clients. It's this really frustrating experience that so many people have. And if you're in the same boat, then this is the perfect episode for you to listen to. You see, I remember back in graduate school, every single week we had a department-wide meeting. All the professors, all the postdocs, all the PhDs, all the master's students. We would all meet and listen to a presentation. Typically, it was the students rotating through, presenting their work, their research, but sometimes we had guest speakers, professors, and at the end of every presentation, there was time for Q&A. And every single year, it was just a handful of people, and it was the same people every single time who would ask questions at the end. And me, I was not one of those people. I was scared. I was worried about what people would think. I was worried that I would embarrass myself and my supervisor by asking a question that made me, and thereby hers, a reflection of me, seem incompetent. So nothing was more frustrating for me than having a question that I thought was a good question, but then I would second guess myself, and then having someone else ask pretty much the exact same question. And I hated that experience. And I did not like going to those meetings, and I did not like the way that I felt at the end of them. I always felt small, invisible, disconnected from everyone around me. And on the one hand, I could say that I did that to myself. I chose not to ask the questions. I chose not to put myself out there. But on the other hand, the environment that I was in played so much of a role in how everyone acted, in what the expectations were, and in how I behaved as a result. So maybe you've been there too, whether it's in meetings, whether it's on camera, podcast appearance, everyday conversations with your colleagues, your friends, your family. If you're feeling stuck between wanting to speak more and fearing how you'll actually come across, then here's something that I really want you to consider. Maybe it's not just you. Maybe it is the environment that you're in. So let me give you an example. In graduate school, in the meetings were very formal. The presentations were very formal. The presenter was always at the front. They had their projector with their PowerPoint presentation. And because the environment was very formal, it left me feeling like I had to be very formal in the way that I presented myself, in the way that I asked the question, in the way that I came across. Versus in my lab meetings, where it was very casual, very informal, where my lab mates, my supervisor, and I met every week as well, the environment was completely different. There was room for error. There was room for friendliness and indirectness, and there was room to make mistakes. And so I want you to consider those situations you are in that make you second guess yourself. Those situations you are in that make you feel like the way that you said something was just not good enough for the way that you wanted to say it. Take a look at those situations and take a look at the patterns that you're seeing. Is it the same types of maybe stressful, maybe formal, maybe informal environments? What are the patterns that you're noticing? What I didn't realize back then, that I realize now, especially after going through years of formal psychology training and education, is that the problem really wasn't me per se. And that the real reason so many of us hold back, shrink, or hesitate when we need to speak up is because of the environment that we're in, both past and present, and that it has conditioned us and shaped us and taught us to act in a certain way. So think back to the patterns that you're thinking about. What are the environments that are causing you stress now? And then start to trace it back. If you are stressed out in environments that seem formal now, likely you've been stressed in environments that were formal in the past. And that pattern has continued and continues to trigger you and trigger the same types of expectations, even if they're not the case anymore. So psychologically, we are all shaped by our environments. It is a given. Even if we don't think we are, even if we don't want to be, we are all shaped by our environments. And that includes quite literally the place that we are in, the norms, the expectations of your workplace, the culture of the place where you work, the expectations your leader, your boss, your manager, your supervisor may have on you. But it's also the broader implications of the environment you're in. What are the social norms? What are the cultural norms? What are the expectations that you feel are falling upon you based on your title, based on other things about you, like maybe your age or your gender? Everything in our lives has an influence on us. That's just the way psychology works. The people that you talk to, the colleagues that you talk to, the friends that you talk to, the types of conversations you're having, they are likely reinforcing the beliefs that you already have. And if you ever find yourself trying to break out of your beliefs, if you find yourself trying to try something new, think about how often someone will say something contradictory to that, and you will automatically lose motivation, you will lose hope, or you will give up altogether. This conditions us not to try. This conditions us not to break out of the expectations that others have. This conditions us to stay the same. And this also starts to condition fear into you. Fear of trying something new, fear of being different, fear of doing something differently and having other people either judge you for it or reject you for it, or insert the blank here. And this fear, yes, you feel it in your body. Yes, you feel it physiologically, but it's also there mentally. It's also there in the way that your thoughts begin to wire themselves. It's also in the way that you begin to react to situations, even if they haven't happened yet. So maybe it's not that you're not confident. Maybe it's the fact that you have been taught through experiences, through conversations, and through reinforcement by others over time and time again that it's not safe for you, or that your opinion is not valued, or maybe that you don't feel welcome sharing your opinion, bringing up a different point of view, or maybe you just don't feel like your opinion is welcome and it makes you hesitate. It makes you lack the confidence to bring it up because you're scared of someone else's reaction. And that can become the framework, the mindset that you have walking into that type of situation over and over and over. And now you're in a cycle where your past experiences have taught you to shrink yourself, to second guess yourself, to doubt your ability to speak up, which then in the moment makes you doubt yourself to speak up, which then continues to reinforce that same pattern in the future. Because if you have doubted yourself 100 times up to this point, it's hard to suddenly stop doubting yourself the next time you go into a meeting. And it's a perpetual cycle that just gets stronger and stronger and stronger. Because the more often that you think something, the stronger those thoughts become. Because quite literally, your brain wires itself neurologically, and the things that you think consistently develop a stronger connection. Quite literally, the wiring in your brain becomes thicker and faster, which makes you think it more often and stronger. So what you think quite literally becomes the way that you think. And that's why breaking that habit is so hard. That's why changing the way that you think and feel is so hard, because you have to break through the fear, break through the anxiety, break through who you have become to try something new. And that's not to say that it's impossible. That's not to say that you can't do it. That's just to say that it can be hard. And when you know that and you anticipate it, dealing with the hardship becomes a little bit easier. Think back to your childhood. Think back to bringing up maybe an idea that you had to a parent or a teacher. Think back to a time that you were really excited to share something. And then think about how your parent or your teacher reacted to you. If they reacted negatively, which, if we're being honest, most of us have had multiple times in our childhood where we were so excited to share something and it was not taken very well. And that uncomfortable feeling that you had as a child, those feelings that you had of not being worthy, of being rejected, of not being valued, of just feeling dumb or stupid, did that stay with you? And did that then start to shape how you felt the next time you brought something up? Did that then start to shape how you felt the time after that? It's like a domino effect. And so the first step to changing isn't actually looking at how you speak. So if you want to change the way that you sound, if you want to be a more confident speaker, it can help to look for tips and tricks and advice on how to be a confident communicator. But if you really want to change as impactfully as possible in the shortest amount of time, the first step is not looking at how you speak, but about how you feel when you speak. It's about dissecting where those feelings are coming from and beginning to separate who you are from your environment. So just because you've been in rooms where your voice didn't feel safe doesn't mean that your voice isn't valuable. And so one simple shift that I teach my clients is that before you speak, ground yourself and take a deep breath. So put both feet on the floor, and this can also prevent you from fidgeting or feeling extra nervous. And take a deep breath to yourself. And think to yourself, I am competent. I am worthy of sharing this opinion. I can handle any possible rejection. It's not about any false bravado. It's not about performing or feeling like you are putting on some sort of show with fake confidence. It's about teaching yourself and training yourself that it is totally fine to trust yourself and to value yourself and to put yourself in situations where you share your opinion, where you share your perspective, where you share your expertise, even though you may hesitate to, even though you may be in an environment that tries to tell you otherwise. And the more that you can practice anchoring into your calm, anchoring into yourself and your competence, and your natural, authentic confidence, the more that you will begin to trust yourself. And really, self-trust is the key to becoming confident speaking. Because then you stop doubting what you're about to say. You stop second-guessing if your opinion is right or wrong. You stop shrinking and feeling like you can't speak the way that you want to properly. When you begin to trust yourself, when you develop that sense of self-trust, when you differentiate you from your environment, that is when you can start to trust yourself to say the right thing, even if you say it with a few mistakes. That's when you begin to feel like you can trust yourself to share your opinion and back it up with the information or the data or the experience that you have. Self-trust and understanding who you are and the value that you bring, and separating that from the environment that you were in, that is the real key to beginning to feel and actually sound confident when you speak. Because when you are busy performing, when you're busy thinking about your tone, your pace, your volume, your projection, your body language, and all these other components, they're distracting. And you can't sound confident if you are faking it and being distracted by the process of faking it itself. So if you want to sound more confident when you speak, start to actually develop the self-trust. That's the foundation of the confidence that you're currently lacking. And again, when you trust yourself, you can say the things. You can share your opinion. You can back it up if you need to. And that is where confidence is really born from. So my question for you is this. Where are you continuing to silence yourself just because of who's around you, who you've been around in the past, or just because of the perceived expectations of the environment that you are in? And what would shift in you and in how you sound if you actually stopped outsourcing your confidence to the expectations and the opinions of the people around you and instead started to focus on yourself and on building that self-trust and on being proud of the way that you are able to think and speak and come up with your expertise. 2 simple questions that will help you have some really great breakthroughs about where you are and where you're currently losing your confidence. If this resonates with you and you're ready to start to speak with more natural confidence in front of others, I have a free resource, a free training that you can watch. I will link it in the description for you. You can also go to christina80.com/free resources. And I have several different trainings there that will help you start to develop the confidence to speak no matter who you are in front of. Because your voice matters. Your voice matters. And it's time to start using it, not from fear, but from presence, from self-trust, and from natural confidence. If you've had any major breakthroughs from this you'd love to share with me, I always love hearing and reading about the insights that you're having. Feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, on Instagram, even on YouTube. I'm here and I'm rooting for you. And I'll talk to you in the next episode. Take care.